Hi everyone, welcome to YarnAdelaide Knits episode 42 I think it is, or 41. Remember me? My name's Nicole. I'm coming to you from the northeastern suburbs of South Australia in Australia. Also the one woman show for Culver Girl Collective, where I hand dye yarn, make project bags and stitch markers and sell them on Etsy. Yes, it's been a long time. Sorry about that. I didn't think when I checked, it's been since August last year, a few weeks after I got back from Bendigo, and I didn't think it was that long ago. I've been gonna do a podcast since November, probably. It's been on the radar, and for one reason or another it just hasn't happened. But I'm here now. Yeah, just through life gets in the way, doesn't it? Lots has been happening. I was working full-time earlier this year, but that's since finished. I've been doing a little bit of part-time work at Yarn Trader in Port Adelaide, helping Tanya out there, which has been awesome. As well as still dyeing yarn. We just had our second annual Fibre Feast event market a couple of weeks ago now. This year it was at Artornish Primary School at St Agnes, which is only 5 minutes away from me, which was a lot more convenient with organising and what have you for a couple of us, or 3 organisers, with myself, Yasmin from Pearl and Friends, and Charmaine from Yarnarama. And Charmaine and myself live this side of town, shall we say, so it was a lot more convenient for us this time around. Chance that we're going to meet up again in a few more weeks and start planning next year's event, which is highly likely that it will be this side of town again. Probably about 90% sure it'll be at Artornish Primary School, depending on the dates that we organise. Yeah. So let's get into what YarnAdelaide Knits has for today. Being that it's been so long, I've got a few finished objects to show you, a few whips, and I've got a stack of books that I bought in the last 6 months, which is yeah, interesting. A lot to do with designing and what have you, with that train of thought in mind for myself. So what shall we start with? I've got the table in front of me, like my new area. Hubby built this. It was an enclosed area, but just wasn't as fully enclosed as what it is now. So it's a nice little parents' retreat, shall we say. Outdoors, and the barbecue area is just over there, somewhere to sit, and I take a lot of my yarn photos out here because the lighting's pretty good for natural lighting, and yeah, and I'll sit out here and watch podcasts and what have you, and that sort of thing, and do some knitting when I get a chance to. So what I will do is start off with some finished objects. Thanks for everybody who's stopping by, and thanks for all the subscribers that are hanging in there with me. Yeah, I really do appreciate it. It's been something that I've been wanting to do for a while, but it's not always convenient because it is a bit of a process, but I've explained that to you, and I don't want to whinge and whine and put a negative light on this, because you do it because you want to. So one of the things that I did finish over the last few months is this zippity shawl, which I did a test knit for Amber O'Brien. It's not a very big shawl, and I did it towards the end. Must have been when the weather started warming up, because I haven't really worn it. I don't think I've worn it. I wore it once last week, when the weather is a bit cooler. It's a bit warmer here today in Adelaide, but I think it's going to rain. Well, it says it's going to rain on the weekend, but who knows what that means. So yeah, yarns I used. The green is, I used all the Cola Girl Collective Swagman base, which is the 85 Australian Superwash Merino 15% nylon. The green is Olive Grove. The variegated green is Kaipo, and the red is Vampire Apocalypse, and the musty brown yellow is Lionheart. Yes, when I dyed that, it reminded very much of Simba. So yeah, and yeah, I really like the colour choices that I settled on. So I didn't start off, I changed the Kaipo. I was using Durham to begin with, where you can, yeah, is it that one? Yeah, the first line here, up here is Durham, which, yeah, I ended up changing my mind. It was too lightly speckled and didn't have enough sort of colour to it to go with the other three colours that I chose. But I'm really happy with the colours that I did choose for that. And you can purchase that pattern on Ravelry as well. And it's pretty easy to do. I'm learning that what I like to knit, yeah, I'm quite happy that it doesn't need to have too much going on, because I get interrupted quite often when I am knitting. So I like stuff that I can pick up and put down and take it out with me and sort of knit in public with friends, and it doesn't take too much attention away from the conversation that's happening around, from life happening around me. So yeah, I really like that one. I'm sure it will get lots of use over winter this year. And that green, that Olive Grove, will have a theme to this one. Now, I forgot to write down the pattern for this, but it doesn't matter because it hasn't been released. So yeah, that was a test knit for Amber O'Brien, and this was a test knit for Claire Devine, and she hasn't released the pattern, so unfortunately it's pointless me telling you what the pattern is. I have put it on social media. So yeah, which this is an 8-ply shawl. So this is knit in my Outback DK, which is 100% sustainable Australian merino. And again, it's the Olive Grove colour, the same as this, but you can see how the Olive Grove dyes on a superwash, which is basically a plastic coated merino, to how it dyes on just 100% non-superwash, where the plastic coating sucks up the dye to the wool a lot more intensely, the colour, than what it does to non-superwash. So it does give it a different colour effect. So yeah, I get a lot of comments when I wore this. So I did finish this. I have worn this a few times. I must have done that a little bit later. Did that October, November, because I know I wore this in October when I was looking after Yarn Trader for Tanya while she was in America. So yeah, this is lovely, and it's a nice big one that gives you a nice big hug when you're wearing it. And yeah, I tend to like this green. This green is nice. And it's a colour that goes, if you like to use warm autumn winter colours, this green goes with everything. That I keep putting it in different colours that I use as well. Another test knit that I did for Amber O'Brien, again, is the Bonita shawl. This was done with my Matilda merino silk lace weight and my myrtle mohair silk lace weight. So the 2 strands held together. And yeah, the colour I used for this one is Battle of Magenta. Being that, yeah, I called it Battle of Magenta because it is a hot pink and charcoal, and that's the colour that it came out. So they kind of had a battle of the pink. So yeah, nice big scarf like shawl, long, that you can really wrap yourself up in, with a bit of feather and fan, or variation of, down the bottom, with some picot edging, which yes, the picot edging is time consuming, but I think it does give a really nice effect in the finish of it. And of course, another one that I have been, another finished object is my tegna that I'm wearing. I did this again, I think I did this late spring, because I've only started wearing it again now that the weather has been cooling down, because I didn't get much opportunity to wear it last year. But yeah, I ended up making this one probably about 4 inches longer than the pattern calls for. I'll slightly stand up so you can see that it covers down the bottom all the bits that you don't want necessarily hanging out. Yeah, and yes, the colourway that I chose is, again, I did it on the Swagman, the 8515, the 4-ply, or fingering weight, and the colour is Peachy Keen, which is a warm peach base with different speckles. We've got some mustardy gold, olive, there's a bit of red through there, there's some dark maroon, there's even a little bit of blue, and that's only because of one of the red colours that I speckled with, split, and it goes off into a bit of blue, which that's what I like about some of the dyes that I use, especially for speckling, because all the colour bases will separate and give a different colour speckle on the speckle, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm really happy with this, and I love the colour that I created as well. And it takes a lot of strength not to overuse it, like I am starting to do with the olive grove of this colour as well. Because with what I'm knitting, I want to be able to show you what colours look like when they're knitted up, because from skein to hand knit, colours look very different. A couple of other things that I have made. I knit a couple of my across the ditch beanies. Knit one for hubby for winter, and that's with my pattern. You can do one less repeat than what it calls for to get a beanie style, or you can do the repeats that it says to do a slouchy beanie style. So I did just the beanie style for Justin, and I used the Mars Shadow colourway on the Outback 8-ply. And then I thought, what I'm doing at the moment, I did one, because that's the base that I used when I created the pattern. Being that it's 8-ply, you can use any 8-ply or DK weight yarn for the pattern. So I thought, well, okay, I'll use the Lush DK base, which is the 100% superwash merino, and I'll do it on the peony colour, which is a reddy pink, and it's got highlights of coral through it, which I really like. Red and coral pink are my 2 favourite colours, and when they combine, well, my heart just sings. So yeah, so I did that one, and I'll probably end up using that one for myself over winter if I don't sell it. So yeah, there. That's all the finished projects that I could think of that I've completed. There's been a few other bits and bobs. There's been a couple of other things, but that's everything. That if I got everything, I'll probably show you next time around a few other things that I finished. Otherwise this will go on forever and your attention span will get bored. Let me just get a sip of coffee. As for some works in progress, well, I've got quite a few of them as well. I'll start off with this one. This is another across the ditch pattern, and it is in a new colourway and a new base. I did release it at Fibre Feast and it sold quite well, and I haven't listed it in the shop yet, and I've got a couple of wholesale orders that I need to fulfill before I can put it in the shop. And this was going to be a sample for the shop that it's going to go in. This is the Autumn Blaze colourway. So it's got the orange and red and brown and olive green in there. It's a nice autumny colour. It's probably not showing very well because the bit of a sun glare is not giving it. Yeah. So that's on the Big Dapper, which I will list in the shop soon. It is, I'm expecting a delivery of more undyed yarn of this space. So I'll be dyeing that up again very soon. It's basically the DK version of the Dapper. So Big Dapper. What else have I got? I've got a pair of socks that just need the toes grafted, which is the vanilla is the new black socks. I can't remember who does that pattern. When I edit it, I might put it in the bottom and say who does it. And these are YarnAdelaide. These were my January indie dye sock along, which I'm failing miserably at. I've got most states in my stash now to do it, but I haven't got. I did January for South Australia, being YarnAdelaide, and this colour is, I think it's the Gingerbread House. I got this colour at last year's Fibre Feast, and all I have to do is graft in the toes, but I haven't done it. And I didn't make these for me, but I think my mum might get these because it was her birthday about 10 days ago, and I haven't seen her yet for her birthday, but she's coming down to house sit, or dog sit for me next week, because we're off to Melbourne to go to watch the Crows play North Melbourne at Marvel Stadium. So yeah, she's going to come and stay here. Being that she's in Snowtown, I sort of told her, said, come and stay in it. Can you come and stay down here and feed the dog for me, and then that for the weekend, and then that way you can go off and do bits and pieces that you need to do in Adelaide, and you won't feel rushed to do it all. So yeah, I'm happy with those, but I think I might have to give them to her for her birthday. As for other things, what else have I done? Let's see this. Who did I do that test knit? I did a test knit as well, and I can't remember her name. is someone that I follow on Instagram. I'm not very well prepared with who everything is. I'll put it down below. But she put a call out. She's a German lady. She put a call out for this, and I've got most of it finished. I just have to do the other arm, and it's basically started off here and gone across. It's just I'll just have to do the arm, but I missed the deadline to have it finished, and so I've lost steam on it since then. And I know it probably only take, once I got going again, it'll probably only take 2 or 3 days to get it finished. But yeah, again, that's in the Lush DK, in the peony colourway, and I did alternate skeins with that one, alternate rows, so it gives a bit of variation with it. And it was something a bit different, something simple, a little bit of texture, and knit sideways instead of traditionally down or up. So I think that's what appealed to me. And then I got this on the needles as well, but it's stalled a little bit. Is Jess's new, the Sweater Collective's new semaphore shawl. Which is that one there. And I gave Jess yarn support for this pattern in the Swagman and the Myrtle. So the pink is the Swagman and the Myrtle mohair is the speckled brown and pink in the Cocoa, which is a colourway that I created for her for the shawl. And I thought, well, she had that, just released that prior to Fibre Feast, and I thought, well, I should be supportive of that since she's using my yarn, and do one myself, but it fell a bit short. But I had this on display with the packs that I had for sale at Fibre Feast, and it still worked a treat. People could still see what I did. So the colours that I chose for this one, in the purple is First Love, the pink is the Primrose, the same pink that Jess used, and then I chose a third colour in the Crush, which is a variegated pinks and greys and yellow and purple. You can see it probably better in that skein there. So yeah, but that's stalled a little because I have to concentrate on keeping up with the short rows back and forth. I get too many interruptions from Miss 4-year-old, which is good now. She's at kindy today. I've got my eldest home. He's not feeling well today, so he's inside watching a movie. I think, yeah, so she's at kindy, so I've got 2.5 days a week now where she's at kindy, so I can focus on dyeing and keeping things up to date, and perhaps even podcasting more often. Now, another work in progress that I have is I've got the design bug. It's been 2 years since I designed the Across the Ditch beanie, and I've been selling quite a few mini skein packs. Sold a few at Fibre Feast, and I've sold quite a few, and they've been fun creating the 5-pack colourways, because they are sort of random of what colours I have and making them work together. I've got a delivery. There's my yarn. Just got some yarn delivered, so yeah. So as I was saying, so yes, I've got the design bug. This is a cow that I am in the process of designing with mini skeins in mind, with mini skein packs and advent calendars and all that kind of thing in mind. So this is a so far I'm on to the 5th colour of a mini skein pack, and then I'm going to do a colour block of one main colour. So it'll be a 2 skein project, well, it all up 200 grams, but it will be mostly a mini skein pack of 5, as well as a 1 full skein of yarn. So yeah, so there. So on the bottom is Walter, then the next colour up is Storm, which is a new colour. Then we've got Thumper and Electric Dreams and People Eater, which is relatively new as well. Yeah, I'm really happy with the way that that's working out, and hopefully I'll have it organised and ready for test knitting soon. I've just got to dye the colour that I've chosen to do the main colour. I tried dyeing up, but I had a boo-boo with it, and yeah, I didn't let the dye dissolve in the pot long enough, and it came out, and being that it's a light colour, it came out with blotches of colour on it going, oh. So I have to dye it again, which I haven't done yet, which I'm thinking might end up happening either this afternoon or tomorrow, depending on how much time I get. But yeah, that's coming along nicely. What else have? Oh, and last thing that I have done is I've cast on, what is it, 98% sure that I'm going to Bendigo again this year, and I've almost also started my Bendigo sweater, or jumper as we say in Australia, and I've chosen to do Light Rain, which is by Johi Locatelli, and it's from the Interpretations Volume 3. I've had this jumper in my queue for a while now, and I'm a sucker for a big cow neck, and I like the idea of the little thumb holes in the bottom of the sleeve. Let's see if you can see that there. Yeah. So it kind of gives you gloves all in one. And yeah, and I did see Tracy, yeah, it was Tracy from the Grocery Girls, do a beautiful bright pink one in a tweed base, and I had a green, my Tears of Pele colourway dyed up for about 12 months that I was going to do it in, and then when it came to casting on, I am doing it in this one, this colour, which is, it's funny, it's called Little Red Dress, but it dyes it, and on the base that I originally dyed it on is on my new Mally colourway, and it's a lot brighter red on a 100% superwash merino than what it has dyed up on my little Dapper. So I've got Big Dapper and Dapper, and then I've got Outback and Little Outback, so it's the opposite way around. So on Dapper, which is the 85% superwash merino with 15% of Donegal Nebs, which is a viscose. So all the flecks in there are Donegal viscose Nebs, or Donegal Nebs. So it gives it a tweedy effect, which I'm a bit of a, I do like that effect. It reminds me of, you know, the traditional Donegal, what is that, Scottish? Colourwork, wintry old school rustic style jumper. So yeah, so this is starting at the back. The yellow are provisional cast-ons, which I do like the way. There's a couple of jumpers that I've done of Hopi's and started off with the provisional cast-on, and I do like the crochet provisional cast-on technique that she leads you to do that. I've done other provisional cast-ons and they're not the same. That one's, even though you are using a crochet hook and you think it sounds like it'd be a bit more confusing, it's a lot simpler than other provisional cast-ons that I have used. So yeah, so that will be my light rain. That will be for Bendigo. Maybe, being that I will be there for the Saturday and the Sunday, maybe I can get that jumper that I did the test knit finished and wear it on one of the days as well. Who knows? At least I'm aiming for at least one. And I can see this knitting up really quickly because it's got a lot of stocking stitch, which I can sit and just do rows and sit down, pick up for 5-10 minutes, put down again, and then go back to it. And that's, I've noticed over the last couple of years, that's kind of been my style of knitting, where if something has a little bit, like a yoke has a bit of colourwork yoke, well, that's all good, but then when you have something easy that you can go just, what is it, watch Netflix and knit, that kind of gives me enough interest to keep me motivated and moving forward. Same as with a little bit of eyelets. Like this was quite simple to do as well, because you had the stitch markers and the yarn, and every X amount of rows it just had the yarn overs. And to get the chevron, it's, what is it, knit 2 together, pass slip stitch over, what is it, something like that, so it forms the arch. So yeah, I think that's about it for all my works in progress. I will show you a few of the books that I've purchased lately, and there's been quite a few. There's been a bit of a stack. So I've got the alternate, sometime late last year. Haven't really used this much. I was hoping that it had a bit of, what is it, mosaic knitting patterns in it, but it's mostly just colour work, which I guess mosaic knitting is colour work, but stranded, I still haven't mentally translated in my head what the difference is between the stranded, ferrule techniques of the colour work. But yeah, it's got lots of bits and lots of patterns in there. Probably, yeah, I was hoping it had a bit of mosaic knitting in it, because that interests me. Being, again, you can sort of, if you know, mosaic knitting only uses one colour per row at a time, but it is colour work. So yeah, but I'm sure this will get used, because it has lots of different patterns in there. So yeah, that's that one. I got Beginner's Guide to Knitting Patterns, to writing knitting patterns, which I thought would be helpful with my designing process. Yeah, because yeah, I went back to work full time ended up working out about 3 months. So January 7 I started, and I'd been wanting to go back to work for a while. And you know, 2 weeks into it, once you go, yeah, I don't like this so much anymore. And it was a big change for Scarlett as well. She started kindy at the same time I went back to work, and which was a big change for her. And then she started going to childcare 1 day a week as well. and that was another big change for her. So I was getting that confusion pushed back from her, and not being able to, knowing that I had fibre feast coming up and trying to juggle the dyeing for that, and still trying to run my little business as well as working 40 hours a week and maintaining your parental role and your wifely duties, your family life as well. And I was finding that a bit exhausting and challenging. And yes, you could structure it and work it all in, but it still got overwhelming in trying to fit it all in, where some days you just want to go, stop, I don't want to do anything. So yeah, so yes, and I think we've probably figured out that maybe once Scarlett starts school, maybe we'll reevaluate that again. But in the meantime, ultimately I'd like my little dyeing business and my little yarny business to support me enough so I can have a contribution to the family expenses. So my theory behind that, to make that keep working, is to, yes, still keep pushing my yarn dyeing business side of things, but another way that could help that evolve is more designing, which I've always wanted to do. I know when I released my beanie pattern, I did have a couple of other things to design, but then all the new patterns out from all the other designers just kind of took over and occupied my time and my impulse to want to cast all those on. But now I've sort of come back and try to refocus again of what I want to do and what I want to get out. And I like working for someone else is overrated, and I think I've been a bit I've spoiled myself, as in having our own fruit and veg business for the past, well, when we had the shop front, 7 years there, and then we've been doing the deliveries for 18 months, almost 2 years now. It's yeah, working for someone else, you feel quite insignificant in your contribution to that job. Well, that's what I felt when I was working with what I was doing anyway, and that was working for a big corporation, and yeah, you just felt like a number to them and you were disposable. So yeah, I like the idea of working. So for me to keep contributing to the family, well, I'm seeing that designing is something that I can expand on, as well as the rest of what I do with my yarn dyeing and making. So yeah, so I bought this one as well. So I showed you that one. I haven't really looked into that in depth, and I've had it for a few months. Some of the things that I've looked at going, yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know that. I already know that. Okay. So it's a bit more reassuring. What I'm sort of more wanting to find out, and that's why my designing is on sort of more smaller things and not jumpers and sweaters and that sort of thing, is because I'm wondering whether, in the whole grading of the sizing of jumpers and that, is what is, I guess, a bigger thing to happen. And I'm wondering whether there's a computer program that you can just punch it in, you want these sizes, and to grade it to X, Y and Z size, and whether that's simpler to do. But I haven't taken that step yet. I thought I'm all ground with smaller things and work that way. So yeah. So another book that I got this at Mount Pleasant last year, which I have booked in, and they've cashed my cheque, so I'm vending there again. But this year it's on Scarlett's birthday, and that's August 10 at Mount Pleasant Memorial, Soldiers Memorial Hall in the main drag of Mount Pleasant, just in front, just past the showground, Mount Pleasant Showgrounds entrance. but it's at the front of the showgrounds because the showgrounds is a big area. But I got this from Colonial Lake Books, which she always vends there, and it's one of Elizabeth Zimmerman's knitting workshop. I've read a little bit of this, but I haven't read a lot of it, and I'm sure that will lend me in good stead, steer me in good, help me with my designing process as well. And this is where you get distractions and your designing process stops because you cast on many other things. And so I bought, this is one of my very recent purchases, got Interpretations number 6 by Hohi and Vera. And there are lovely, many lovely things as always in these books. That's amazing. I didn't think much of what was on the cover, but I quite seen it on a different day. I quite like it now because it's more of a tunic dress with the pockets. And now that the weather's started to turn, even though it's warmer today, you can see yourself rugging up with a big warm jumper, and wearing that over a pair of jeans or a set of leggings is awesome. Simple and warm and understated, but you feel proud and sophisticated when you've worn it. But yeah, there's lots of bits and pieces in there. I've looked through it a few times. Oh, even some nice socks, which I need to get back on that bandwagon of doing the indie dyer, Australian indie dyer sock along. I've been trying to talk Tanya from Yarn Trader into making that and being her Bendigo jumper, but I don't think it's going to happen. Even this one that Vera did as well, a nice big warm woolly jumper with a big cow neck and my kind of thing. So yeah, that's another one. And then I bought Strange Brew, which I thought, again, for the designing process perspective, being that it does kind of help you with adapting everything to make it fit. And then the jumper that I really like in there is this one. Is the Icefall. Can you see that? Yeah. I quite like that one. Even looking at it again, Scarlett might get a version of it. My boys don't like my hand knits, so they're not getting any hand knits. They might get the occasional beanie, but yeah, I've knit them jumpers and they've never been worn. So yeah, Strange Brew. And then usually around Christmas time I have a urge to crochet, and this is still for sale at Yarn Trader, and I bought this one, the Granny Square Flare, yeah, I said it right, by Shelley Husband. And I crocheted, beg my pardon, slip of the tongue, shall we say. I did it again! Crocheted some coasters. So the coasters, the little crocheted coasters that you see at Yarn Trader, are mine. I crocheted them. And I got some glue stiffening. I really like that pot holder. Yeah. But then that was a little bit beyond my crochet skills and my brain wasn't up to trying to translate it again, but I'll go back to it. And then I bought, there's another recent purchase, I think it's the latest Lane magazine, say it like an Australian, or liner, depends on where you're from. And there's some lovely patterns in this as well. There was something that did tickle my fancy. What was it? Oh, this one. Did quite like that. Again, it's got mohair. Let's see it. I think it had a strand. It runs with a strand of mohair, which is nice. Yeah. And I think I bought this only probably about 6 weeks ago. Japanese Stitches Unravelled. So yeah, this is actually quite interesting because it does give you, you can use it, gives you ideas of knitting it back and forth, top down and in the round. So it gives you the directions on doing that. Bottom up flat, bottom up in the round, top down flat, top down in the round. Which is good because I had to, which I guess makes it, you know, more my design. When I found this stitch pattern, I had to make it work, and I made it my own by making a few different alterations to it, to A, knit it in the round, and B, get as much as I wanted out of the mini skein. So yeah, I did that one, and then I finally bought this. I was going to buy this about 12 months ago, but I didn't. But I got Knitting Outside the Box by Bristol Ivy, and I've see that she's doing a follow-up to this soon.